Hello, I'm Greg Gwiz.
And I'm Brad Blackwell. On behalf of Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, we want to welcome you to today's webcast featuring Brian Buffini. Over the next few minutes, you're going to hear some exciting information that will help you jumpstart your business in the new year. We are thrilled to sponsor this program because here at Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, we believe in helping our clients succeed.
That's right, from helping you build business to approving your buyers to closing your deals on time, no other lender is as committed to adding value to real estate professionals like you in all the ways that count. We also know that real estate is local, and we know the importance that home ownership plays in building communities like yours. For all of these reasons, we're proud to bring this program to you today.
Brian Buffini built his fortune, Greg, as a realtor by implementing a sophisticated lead generation system that ensured a predictable supply of high-quality referrals.
Something every realtor wants.
Everyone. In 1995, he founded Buffini & Company to share this powerful referral system with others. Now, headquartered in San Diego, California, Buffini & Company is now the largest real estate training and coaching company in North America. Brian's trained over 1.5 million sales professionals on how to accelerate business while balancing their lives. Those in his coaching programs are earning, get this, Greg, 7 times the national average in income.
You know, with insight, practical solutions, and great Irish wit, Brian will provide a roadmap for success to help you achieve at your best. So get ready for inspiring content that will propel you to the next level in personal and professional achievement. Please welcome Mr. Brian Buffini.
Well, thank you, Brad and Greg, and the top of the morning to everybody. Great to be joining you here today. And thanks for coming on board with this webinar. We have over 7,000 people all over the United States live on this webinar today. I'm really excited to be partnering up with Wells Fargo in a series of these messages, thriving in any market. From webinars, to live events, to webisodes, to the upcoming Cine meeting, Wells Fargo has made a significant commitment to provide a tremendous amount of value to you, the real estate agent. And I'm excited about this because Wells Fargo understands that the real estate business goes as how we go as real estate agents. And they want to provide information and value to you to help you in your career. And so I'm real excited to be with you here today. We're going to learn a lot today, so I hope you have a notepad and pen. Take down some copious notes. You'll see on the screen next to me some information, some principles, and some how-tos that you'll want to write down. We also have opportunity for you to ask a question. And I want to do about 15 minutes of live Q&A with you today. So right on the screen, the bottom of the screen, there's a place to email me a question. And I'd really like to hear what your challenges are and what we can do to help you thrive in this market. The first thing I have to do today is to congratulate you. The fact that you are still in business means you have survived. Survived one of the worst downturns in the history of this industry. In the last 100 years, we've only ever seen this twice before. And so you have done a remarkable job. And I want to share with you a great quote from an Irish author. And she says, you know, damaged people are dangerous because they know they can survive. And you may have taken on a little damage over the last 18 months, but you've survived. You know the story. There's a number of brokerages that have not made it. There's over 300,000 members of our National Association of Realtors who have not made it. What does that mean for you? It means you've survived. It means now you have a chance to outperform the recovery that's coming. You have a chance to outperform the market. We got a lot of things going for us. We know, number one, there's less competition. Like I said, more than 300,000 people have left our industry. Number two, we know the prices are good. Salespeople get excited when their companies have a sale. If it's a furniture store, if it's a car dealership, or if it's a retailer. In the real estate business, we're having a sale. Prices are down. It's a good time to be selling things for salespeople. And then the third thing is the rates are really good. Now we know also that we have these tax credits that are going to go away at the end of April. So we need to get real busy real soon. So I'm glad you joined me here today. And as you survived and as you've worked through this market and you've found a way to stay in business and keep moving forward, many of you have done very well during this time. But even those of you who have prospered, it's been a bruising time. And so what I want to do right now is to give you information to help you thrive. You've survived not just to exist, but to ultimately have a future for yourself. So what I want to do today is talk about the 5 reasons salespeople fail. Now you may be thinking, that's kind of a strange time for this message. Haven't I just survived? Well, we need to know, and you know in your heart, we have to do more than just survive this market. We have to get after it. And we're talking about thriving in any market, and I want to give you some tools and some how-tos, as well as challenge you in your thinking today in ultimately how to win. Many of you know who I am. The Buffinian Company's been the largest coaching and training company. We've trained over 75,000 people in our coaching program, where we've worked one-on-one, and we found how people win, and we found how people lose. We found where people struggle, and we found how people prosper. So what I want to share with you today are the 5 reasons salespeople fail. And then I want to give you some tips on how to avoid that yourself. So here's your first opportunity to take some notes. Here are the 5 reasons salespeople fail. Number 1 is ineffective lead generation. Ineffective lead generation. Next is a lack of discipline. A lack of discipline. Third, we have a tendency to have too high a need for approval. We want our customers to like us. We'll talk about that. We have a tendency, number 4, not to ask for the order. We're going to talk about that, how to do it, how to ask for the business in such a way that it's gracious and respectful, non-pushy, but we have to ask for the order. And then lastly, poor money management. I think you'd all agree we're probably all a little smarter today than we were, say, 3 years ago. We're probably better with our money today than we were 3 years ago. We're probably better business people than we were 3 years ago. So now's the time to take advantage. So I want to talk to you about why salespeople fail and then what you can do to win. So our first major principle here is effective lead generation. Ineffective lead generation is throughout the industry. I'll give you an example. I just did some events up in the Pacific Northwest where I saw a couple thousand folks. And I asked the audience to grade themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 in the area of sales and marketing, in the area of customer service, and the area of financial management. And then I asked the members of the audience who said sales and marketing was their strongest suit to raise their hands. Now, folks, I got to tell you, less than 2% of the audience raised their hand and said, sales and marketing is my strongest suit. For the vast majority of people, it was customer service, which is a great principle, which is phenomenal. But you need to understand there's a disproportionate level of return in this industry for people who focus on effective lead generation. If you want better quality customers, you need a quantity of customers. If you don't like how some of your clients are treating you, typically you're putting up with bad behavior because they're the only client you have. So what we have to do is get committed to a couple hours a day of actually stirring up the pot, going out and seeing our clients, seeing our past customers, going to our sphere of influence, and working by referral, as we talk about, cultivating our database, cultivating our relationships. So here's some ways in which people are ineffective in their lead generation, if you want to write this down. A, inconsistency. We're inconsistent. B, we get into the wrong sequence. And C, we get caught up in fads. Now let me just stay there for a moment. Inconsistency. You know, I've often asked many real estate agents, what's the one thing you're consistent at? And they'll tell me, being inconsistent. And it's easy to become inconsistent in this industry. Why? Because there's so much going on. You can have a nice things to do list and you plan for your day and you walk in and the next thing you know, all heck breaks loose. Or I like to call a real estate office an area of massive distraction. You walk into the office and you have your plan, but somebody goes, hey, I got this new listing, you want to come check it out? Hey, were you going to go on caravan with me? Let's go together. So-and-so's putting on a presentation about some new technology. You want to come check it out in the conference room? And it's amazing. Just walk into your desk. You can have people who have conversations, or they're talking anything from sports to weather to the economy to politics to anything other than what you're supposed to be doing. So it's very easy to get distracted. Many of you have an office from home. Many of you are watching me from a home office today. Here's my question to you. Did you get dressed up to go to work today? Or are you kind of still hanging out at home? Have you showered yet? Sometimes it's easy not to, hanging out at the office at home. Do you ever find yourself working from home and you're paying bills instead of calling through your database? Very easy to do. So what we need to have is a predictable, consistent effort every day. If we just could do a couple hours every day. Now, a couple hours, to be honest with you, that's phenomenal. If we could start you with a half hour and then work your way to an hour and a half to 2 hours every day, writing personal notes to your customers, calling your database, your sphere of influence, going and grabbing a coffee, going to lunch with people. Now, obviously, I need an awful lot more time to walk through our systems of how we've produced such high incomes for our agents that we train. And at the live events and at the Cine meeting, I'll be going more into these things in depth. But ultimately, having a consistent approach to your business. All I ask you is this: could you start each day the same way? And could you dedicate at least a half hour to an hour of set-aside time? My goal is to go and generate a lead today. The wrong sequence, what I mean by that is sometimes we put the cart in front of the horse. And we go and we buy expensive software programs, or we buy mass mailings. I know people who are out buying leads right now, and yet they haven't contacted their past customers. The National Association of Realtors say that within a year, 28% of consumers cannot remember their name of the agent. Now, what's wild about that is a high percentage of these people have a very favorable view of the agent that served them. Did they do a good job for you? Yes. Here's a tip. If they can't remember your name, they can't refer you. Now, I know that's not profound, but that's about as profound as an Irishman can get. The bottom line is you've got to stay in touch with your customers. So sometimes we get out of sequence. We start building all these wonderful software programs, or we start doing these mass mailings, and yet our existing customers, the people we've served in the past, we haven't even contacted. So we get caught up in the wrong sequence. And lastly, we have definitely got a tendency in this industry to get caught up in the fads. There are so many fads that come to this industry, and we are open to it, and the reason being is that anything that doesn't require me to have to get on the phone and call people, get in my car, go see people, cultivate customers one at a time. If there's some technology or some gimmick that I could buy, whether it's a talking house sign or a 1-800 hotline or whatever else, there's been so many over the history of the real estate industry. I like to laugh. When I first went to the National Association of Realtors meeting myself as an agent, it might have been 1990. And I remember this guy putting on a seminar about installing a fax machine in your automobile. And he told me this is going to be the next great thing for your business. So there's so many things that are fads. Now, one of the things I want to talk about, and I will go into this more in depth in our live presentations and at the Cine meeting, is the whole context of social media. Because social media has taken over our culture. And obviously, it's had a great impact in the real estate industry. I ask audiences, how many of you have a Facebook? 80% of the agents will raise their hands. And then I'll say, well, what are you doing with it? And they're like, I don't know. How's it generating business for you? I don't know. Agents are tweeting, and they're on Facebook and MySpace, and they're on LinkedIn, and they're on all these different sites, and many times they're spending a whole bunch of time on this stuff. So this is important. I believe social media is a huge dynamic shift in how we communicate with one another. But I also believe it can be a massive time waster in our industry. And it can be a distraction to take you away from that consistent lead generation. In fact, we like to have a few giggles around Buffini & Company. I've shared with them we're bringing out a proprietary software where we're linking the best of YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and bringing it all together. This brand we like to refer to as called UTwitface. And we have a few laughs with it because ultimately people are nervous about this. They're scared. There's all these people who are out there on Facebook and I don't know what to do with it and so on and so forth. Here's what I want to share with you. I believe social media can do a great job accelerating what you already do. It can accelerate what you already do. Great example. A young man that I know needed some help with a short sale. I referred him to an agent in our coaching program. He did a remarkable job for him, actually got it closed pretty quickly. Well, my friend was really happy with him and told one of his buddies over the phone who was thinking about buying a home. So they connected. So he got a referral. So great. And that's like old school. I give a referral. He thanked me and appreciated me, the agent. My friend got good service from the agent, came back and said, hey, he did a great job. And then he told somebody. Now, the next tweak is he then went and wrote a little clip and put a picture up on his Facebook account. And the gentleman I referred got several referrals from Facebook right away. Here's what I'm trying to share with you. This agent did all the fundamental things right. He stayed in contact with me. He's built a relationship. He's made me aware that he's open and interested in my referrals. He did a great job for the customer, and he followed up with me to let me know how it was going. So I'm more excited as the referring person. Next, the person he did a great job for was excited to refer him. But now, through the new dynamic of social media, it goes on his Facebook account, and now it reaches so many more people quickly. Now, everybody wants to get to heaven, but no one wants to die to get there. Everybody wants to have these social networking pieces do their magic for them, but they don't want to do the fundamentals. And I got to tell you, I'm all about fundamentals. And in coming out of a time like this, it's the fundamentals are the key. You know, we had over 25% of our members that we coach have their record year in 2009. And in every case, they were people who mastered the simple fundamentals and stayed at them. If you take the fundamentals and work them fastidiously, then add these new technologies on top, now you got a great opportunity. Now, I wish I had all day to talk to you just about lead generation. That's what we do at Buffini & Company. I do a turning point retreat where for 2 days, I teach this system in an in-depth fashion. And so if you're interested in more on the lead generation side, you can go to our website and check it out and go see where we'll be coming to your local market. But what I want to do right now is kind of keep moving along and talk about the reasons salespeople fail. Number one, ineffective lead generation. You show me an agent who does a great job at generating leads, and I'll show you someone who can weather any storm. So once you've got your lead generation mindset on, and you've got some good disciplines, and you're following a system, now the next thing is a lack of discipline. A lack of discipline is ultimately what causes so many salespeople to fail. And again, it's easy to do. You know, many of you had a corporate job in the past. And when you go to work for a corporation, here's your job description, here's your hours of work, and here's what you do, and here's what you get paid for it. Now, could you imagine if you worked for a corporation the way you work for yourself? Could you imagine you kind of just show up whenever you show up? You're supposed to take an hour for lunch. Sometimes it's an hour and a half. You're supposed to be getting stuff done in the middle of the day. You're kind of doing errands, dry cleaning, picking up stuff at Costco. That's what we do sometimes as real estate agents. Now, part of the joy of our business is there's some freedom, but that freedom can also choke you. So we have to have a discipline. That's why I start with having a system you're trying to follow. Here's how many people I'm trying to contact today. Here's how many notes I'm going to write. Here's how many calls I'm going to make. Here's how many people I want to see in person. Once we have the system, then I got to stay disciplined to that. Okay, so between 9 and 9:45, I'm going to make calls. At lunchtime, I want to take one of my best customers to lunch. And before I leave the office tonight, I'm going to write personal notes to all of my best customers, people who I've just put into escrow, maybe someone who's just listed with me, or someone who just comes to mind in my database. And as a disciplined sales culture is what we have to develop in our industry. And this is what we strive to do at Buffini & Company. One of my mentors is a man by the name of Jim Rohn, a great man who just recently passed away, and he's had a huge impact on my life. And if you ever get a chance to go online and find any of his CDs or read any of his books, I just encourage you to do so. This man made a huge difference in my life. He shared this statement with me, which is discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. So we have our goals and our dreams and what we're trying to do, and here's the accomplishment of actually getting it done. And the bridge between the two is discipline. Now, I know that's an old-fashioned word. I know that's not the hottest, latest marketing technique. But the fact of the matter is, you show me someone who will work the fundamentals. You show me someone who will be disciplined on a regular basis, and I'll show you someone who wins. Now, this is a big deal. I'm just going to share with you, there is nobody who robotically goes into the office and generate leads and prospects for 8 hours a day. And if they do, I would say they're probably a pretty dry individual, or a robotic individual, or a burned out individual. So I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about having certain disciplines that say, no matter what, I'm going to do this. For example, in my career, now I'm not advocating this specifically, I used to write 10 personal notes a day in my real estate business. 10 personal notes to customers I came in contact with the previous day, to people I needed to reach out to, and I'd just sit down and write notes. And my assistant would take those notes with the envelopes and put them by the phone that I use every day. And if I didn't write my notes on any given day, there'd be 10 more the next day, or 10 more the day after that. There were times I got piles of notes because I got behind. Now, when we're coaching somebody, we ask them to write 2 notes a day. But I was a young immigrant, I didn't have much going for me, and I needed to build my business. So that was my discipline. And I've shared many times, nothing took less time, cost less money, and produced a bigger result than that. Simple disciplines. So here's a couple of disciplines to get into right away, okay? The first area where there's a lack of discipline, it's not a character judgment. It's just a planning problem. So we have no plan for advanced decision making. We just don't have a plan for advanced decision making. Let me give you a for instance and take it out of the real estate realm. You're working all day, you're stressed out, maybe you ended up missing lunch, which happens a lot in real estate. And you're running here and you're running there, and you get into the house, and your spouse, loved one says, hey, what do you want to eat? It's 6 o'clock, your blood sugar's low, you haven't eaten since breakfast. What do I want to eat? never will something good come out of my mouth at that time. What do I want? Pizza, ice cream, and a six-pack of beer. And it doesn't even have to be in that order. You know, I'm Irish. Let's go for it. The problem is that I'm making a decision at a time when I'm weak, when I'm hungry, when I'm not energetic. You know, it's one of the reasons why you have a grocery list, go to the grocery store, and it's always good to eat before you go to the grocery store. Isn't that true? You ever gone to the grocery store and put a bunch of stuff in the basket that was, you got home and you go, what the heck was I thinking? Because you were buying stuff for an immediate fix. So, an advanced decision-making process needs to happen in real estate, because if you think you're going to, you're tired and it's 5 o'clock or 5:45, you're going to sit down and write your notes, you're not going to make that decision. You get to the office, you don't have a plan, and someone says, hey, let's go on caravan together, and you weren't planning on it, you're probably going. Someone's doing the presentation on the new software, you're going to that. Or you get onto the computer, the weapon of mass distraction, and you open up your email first thing, and you're tooling around and tooling around. Next thing you know, you're watching YouTube, and some guy's vacuuming his dog on a skateboard, and the most productive part of your day is going out the window. So here's what we got to have. I'm not trying to kill your joy. What I'm trying to do is have, when you have peak energy, do peak activities so you'll have peak performance and ultimately make a good living in this business. Here's a couple of tips. Have a plan for your day. Have a plan for your year. Have a plan for your business. What are you trying to accomplish? You know, when I ask real estate agents, a lot of times they just don't even know their business. I'll say, how many people do you have in your database? I don't know. What's your average sales price? I don't know. What are you trying to get your average sales price to be? I don't know. What are you trying to do? Survive. Well, guess what? If your plan is to survive, the best you can hope for is survival. When you're 100% successful, congratulations. You accomplished what you were looking for. I have a good friend of mine by the name of Joe Nego. And Joe often says, most agents aim for nothing and hit it with amazing accuracy. What's your plan? Plan out your day. Do not go into the office without a plan. I like to say it's like bringing a knife to a shotgun fight. You gotta have a plan for the day. And then what's your plan for the year? And what's your plan for the business? What are you trying to get accomplished? Where are you trying to go? Where do you want your business to be? Is it just this merry-go-round that goes around year to year? Or no, I want to be in a different spot next year, and I'm going to work towards that. So again, we have this advanced decision-making because we've made a plan in advance. A couple more things and why a lack of discipline shows up. And again, what you'll see is I'm not going to besmirch anybody's character because I don't think discipline is really a character issue for the most part. The second point I have in this is that it's easy to get overwhelmed. The real estate business comes at us hot and heavy, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed. So if you can visualize this for a second, what I like to think of is a piece of Swiss cheese. So imagine you have a big block of cheese, and it's overwhelming. Just like you have not only do you have to be taking care of all your customers, not only do you have all the paperwork to do, the transactional highs and lows, the emotional highs and lows, but then you also got to be maybe your kid's coach, maybe you're getting groceries, you got to go to the PTA, you got to take care of your health issues, you got your own financial challenges going on, the car's on the blink, and the next thing you know, here's the list. And now I'm talking about writing notes or calling your customers, and it's just so easy to get overwhelmed. I'd love to do that, Brian, but I don't have the time. Well, you know what? None of us have the time. The truth is, every one of us has the exact same amount. We have all the time there is. So what I like to do is think of this big block of cheese, and rather than I have to get it all done and I have to get it all perfect. Now, hear me now. You don't have to be perfect to be successful. You don't have to get it all done to be successful. In fact, the opposite. What you need to do is, like a piece of Swiss cheese, is knock a little hole in it. Okay, here's the things I want to do today, and I put a little hole in that block of cheese. And then I line up the next day, and here's what I'm trying to get done today, and I knock a hole in that Swiss cheese. And it's important that that things to do list is around lead generation, that it's about bringing customers in. It's about making my business healthier. And I'm knocking holes in that cheese and knocking holes in that cheese and knocking holes in that cheese. And that's how I'd like you to view that. If you're feeling overwhelmed, I understand. You need to take it one day at a time and make that commitment to say, this is what I'm going to get done today. I have all these problems. I have all these challenges. I'm under all this pressure. That's true. And that ain't going away right now. But what can you get done today? And can you win today? If you do that, and then you line up another winning day, and you line up another winning day, you get 4 of those days in a week, you won the week. You get a couple of those weeks done in a month, you won the month. and you get 8 of those months done in the year, you win the year. And it's been a struggle, it's been strife, there's been ups and downs, but at the end of the year you go, you know what, I don't know how it happened, but it doubled my income. And this is a phrase we hear over and over again in our coaching program, because we just chip away and keep nudging and keep nudging and keep helping and keep helping. Next thing you know, somebody's doubled their income. The third piece to this is that it's a choice. And success does not happen by chance, it is a choice. And so here's my visual for you. Tomorrow morning, before you swing your legs out of bed, whether it's your right leg or your left leg, here's what I want you to do. I want you to, before you put your foot on the ground, make a choice. Make a choice before you start your day on what a successful day looks like. Before the day begins, what's a successful day look like? For me in my real estate career, it's real simple. I'm going to make this number of calls to my database, I'm going to write this many personal notes, and I'm going to see these number of people in person. That's it. That's it. And that simple mentality helped me come from being a poor immigrant coming here 25 years ago to becoming very successful in this business. Because I made a choice every day. Now for me, I didn't have a lot of choices other than to do this. I had no money, I'm a long way from home, I had bills stacked up, I had to do it. No one was going to do it for me, and I think you know by now no one's going to do it for you either. So we have to make a choice. So the second reason why salespeople fail is the lack of discipline. I think we all could use some improvement in that area. And if that's something that's a weakness, let's just impact and introduce just little techniques each day, little disciplines each day, little skills each day so we can succeed. The third major reason salespeople fail, and I want to talk to you all about this right now, is too high a need for approval. Too high a need for approval. Wayne Dyer is a famous author, and he says this: people who want the approval the most get the least, and people who want approval the least get the most. Boy, that doesn't seem fair. But let me talk to you right now about a need for approval. I'm like you. I like to be liked by people. We all like to be liked. It's a nice thing. It's a good thing for our customers to like us. And listen, it's a good thing for people in the service industry to want their customers to like us, because that gives us a service mindset. It's a great thing. But here is a principle I want to share with you, and here's what I want you to write down. I'm giving you these tips because we've coached so many people, and this is a common challenge we see. It is more important to be respected than liked. It's more important to be respected than liked. Now let me give this to you so you can get this in the clearest terms. My customers liked me, but I was first shooting for their respect. You see, if they respect you, they can like you. And if they respect you and like you, they become your advocate and they tell the world. Here's the flip side of this. How many of you have someone in your life who likes you, but it doesn't mean they've done business with you? How many of you have had a friend or a family member do a transaction and not use you? I've had other experiences early on in my career where someone would come up to me and go, "Oh, Brian, my best friend Millie, she just put her house on the market. And you being in the real estate business and all, I thought you'd want to know." I'm like, I don't want to know now. It would have been nice before she put her house on the market, right? Ultimately, I had a person who really liked me, but she didn't identify that what I did and how I did it was important to get in front of her friend ahead of time. So this is the key. Sometimes respect comes in having difficult conversations. Sometimes respect comes in telling the seller what they need to do to fix up their house. Sometimes it comes in telling the seller, you know what, here's what's going on in the market. I'm here for you. I'm fighting, biting, scratching, clawing for you, but you need to reduce your price to this. Sometimes being respected means you sit down in front of a buyer and you're willing to tell them, you know what, I don't think this offer's going to go. Or you tell them, you know what, we haven't gotten a response. This might be one of these transactions where we're not going to get a response from the bank. It's better to be respected than liked. The goal is to be both, but choose respect first. And this is a big deal, because if they like you and approve you but don't respect you, you're not a business person in their eyes. They won't endorse you to their friends, and you're working very hard. And by the way, it's pretty thankless. It's pretty thankless. So get them to respect you. Be willing to say the difficult things. Be willing to be a person of character that stands up and goes, here's what I believe is the best thing to do. And then as you build a relationship with them and they like you, now they become your advocate. Here's my ultimate question for you right now this morning. Why did you get into this business? Why did you get into this business? What was the purpose? And why did you get in? Didn't you get in because you saw an opportunity? Didn't you get in because you thought, maybe I could provide a better life for myself and my family? Didn't you get into this business because you thought, man, I really like to help people? Didn't you get in because it was a part of the housing industry that kind of attracted you? Didn't you get into this business because you wanted to have no limits on how much you could make and that you could go as far as you were capable of going? Nobody said, this is what you get paid and no more. You got in this business because you said, I'm going to get paid as much as I can. I'm going to get paid based on how hard I work, and the fruit of my efforts is going to produce the harvest. Isn't that why you got in this business? So the question I have is, was it to make a living or was it to be liked? I see a lot of agents that really struggle in this area. And I understand it. And I get your heart. I get what you're trying to do. But understand, what I want you to do today is just tweak your mindset a little bit and say, I need them to respect me first. I need them to respect me. So you deliver the bad news, but you're also personable about it. You're not an undertaker. You're gonna connect to it. A great book I'd encourage every one of you today to read is a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World. It's one of the first sales books I ever read by the great Og Mandino. Og Mandino started Success Magazine. By the way, he started Success Magazine when he himself was not a success, but he became hugely successful. And he's a guy that has had a lot of impact on a lot of people's lives. And I'm a product of people like this. A couple of years ago, we lost our home in a fire, and all of our books went up in smoke. So recently, I've been rebuilding my library from scratch. Initially, it was kind of overwhelming because I had so many books that I'd loved for so many years. But now I start off and I go, okay, what am I going to start with? And in each area of my life, I've selected what are the books I'm starting with first. And when it came to my career, the first book I read was the book that had so much impact on me as a young man, The Greatest Salesman in the World. And it's a series of stories. It's a parable, if you will. It's an easy read. You could get through it in about an hour, or 4 or 5 visits to the bathroom, whichever way you need to go. The Greatest Salesman in the World, Og Mandino. And there's a series of scrolls, 10 scrolls that give the outline for success as one mentor passes this information on to a young man he's mentoring. And I love this one scroll. I think it's scroll number 3. And if I can, I would like to read this to you, because this is the mindset I have right now about this business. This is the mindset I'm trying to instill in the people we serve. It says, I will persist until I succeed. I was not delivered into this world into defeat, nor does any failure course in my veins. I am not a sheep waiting to be prodded by my shepherd. I am a lion, and I refuse to talk, to walk, to sleep with the sheep. I will persist until I succeed. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. It's a neat book. It's set in ancient times. And again, my goal is ultimately, we've all been so beat up. The news has been so negative. So many people in real estate offices who have even survived. I got to warn you, there are people in your office who don't know they've already quit. They're still around. They got nowhere else to go. I talked about it earlier. It's a choice. It's a choice. And I encourage you, choose to succeed. I will persist until I succeed. You can do this. I know you can. I know you can. And you know you can too. It's a wonderful business. It's a tough business. But ultimately, we've got to commit the daily activities, the daily disciplines, to have a system in place by which we're going out and finding people that we want to serve, who want us to serve them. And do it in such a way that they tell their friends, I'll persist until I succeed. Another way in which salespeople fail is often not asking for the order. Now, that's kind of old school salesmanship words, ask for the order. We've all seen the Glenn Geary, Glenn Ross movie, ABC, always be closing. And again, it's that hardcore, in-your-face, pushy salesperson. And as much as I'm driven to help you here today, I hope you understand, I grew up in Ireland. I come from a culture of hospitality, a culture of respect. We never had door-to-door salespeople growing up. I was the only person on our street with a phone, was our family, so we didn't get telemarketing. And we were all about hospitality, and ultimately because we were a tourist-driven nation at that time. So I am not a pushy, in-your-face, over-the-top salesperson. But I ultimately had to ask people to make decisions. People need help in making decisions. That's the first major point I'd give you today. People need help in making decisions. You know that making a decision is rated as one of the most difficult things a person does in their life? You know that the loan they get for their home is the largest amount of debt they'll ever have in their life for 95% of Americans? You know that their home is the most important asset they'll own for 95% of Americans? So guess what? It's a big deal. And right now, people are scared. Look, I just talked to a real estate agent the other day. She's been in the business 20 years, and she goes, I have some money saved up. I've done pretty well. But should I buy real estate? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And she was honest with me. She said, is the economy going to make it? Are we really going to have a better future for my kids than I've had? There's a lot of people asking those questions right now. They're not so sure. They're not convinced. Here's my question to you. I mean, if you're not sold on real estate, how can you sell somebody else? People need help in making a decision, and I believe right now people are having a harder time making decisions than ever before. So asking for the order is ultimately bringing people to a point of decision. You got to bring people to a point of decision. You got to ask them questions. What are their goals? What are their desires? What do they want to accomplish? Why are they meeting with you in the first place? Why is that? So people need help in making decisions. I was all about this. I would take out a tablet of paper and I'd ask them questions. I'd ask them what was their goal? What are they hoping to achieve? Then I'd write down and I'd ask them, what is your biggest fear or concern about the upcoming transaction? And I'd always be taking notes. And what they were doing was telling me, this is how you can serve me. This is what my fears are. This is what my hopes are. If you know somebody's hopes, you know somebody's fears, you can serve them. Otherwise, if you don't know those things, you're just talking at them. And now they're questioning your motives. Are you just doing this for the money? People need help in making a decision. You have to help them. And you have to bring people to a point of decision. That's what you have to do. That's what we get done as professionals. Think about this for a second. When somebody lists their home with us, think about this. They've saved the money. They've got a down payment. They've improved the property. They went to the Home Depot on the weekends. They decorated to reflect their own style and their taste and personality. And now they're putting that home on the market. When they sign that listing agreement with us, they're saying, I'm going to grant you 6% of the asset. Not 6% of the down payment, but 6% of the asset. Okay then. That is a solemn responsibility. So we come along and we see someone who may be interested in the home, and we don't ask them the question because we want to be liked. We don't want to ask them the question because we don't want to feel uncomfortable. Someone's just entrusted us as professionals. So we've got to do this. Our job is to help people make decisions. Yes and no's. Both of those are good decisions. A yes is a great decision. A no is a great decision. You know this. The hardest person to serve is the person who likes everything. You show them a house. Do you like it? Yeah. Could you see yourself living here? Yeah. Is this the one you'd like to write an offer on? No. No. Let's go look at the next one. That's the hardest person to serve. But the person who walks into a house and goes, why did you bring me here? This thing is hideous. I know you've had this experience. I've had it. I've driven someone to the front door of the house, and they're like, I'm not getting out of the car. Keep driving. Now, to me, I always took that as a positive sign. I didn't get defensive about that. I said, this is great. You know, what this tells me is you know what you hate, which means when you find what you like, you'll buy it. So great, because finding a home is a process of elimination, not a process of selection. We have to help people make decisions. That's our job as professionals. If we're not helping people make decisions, A, they're now not being served, because that's why they came to us in the first place. B, we're not doing our job, and C, we don't get paid. So our job is to help people make decisions, yes or no. And in order to do that, we got to ask them. So again, I give you that little dialogue. When I show somebody a house, okay, do you like it? Okay, sometimes I'd ask them, what do they like about it? Could you see yourself living here? Is this the one you'd like to make an offer on? I'm helping people come to, no, okay, great, now tell me why. Super, well this is great because that really helps me as we start to narrow our focus, because finding you a home is a process of elimination. The next point I give you about not asking for the order is that it's all about belief. It's all about belief. What do you believe? I mentioned earlier the real estate agent, been in it 20 years. Should I buy real estate? She's asking the question. Now here's what I'm going to tell you. If you do not believe in the intrinsic value of real estate, then I don't think you should be doing it for a living. Now, if you're not sure of the intrinsic value in real estate, I think what you have to do is go do a little history and do a little research. Go to the National Association of Realtors website. and go and look at the last 100-year averages and take a look at what's happened in the peaks and the valleys and the peaks and the valleys of real estate. Look at the booms and the busts. And what you'll see is the intrinsic value. What you'll see is all economics is based on supply and demand. And guess what? Our population is growing. Guess what? Mark Twain said, buy land, God stopped making it. So here we go. We have demand in the form of population growth, and we have a limited supply. We also know this, since 2008, it's been tough to get a construction loan. So there's not a lot of new developments. It wasn't cost effective for developers to build real estate. So guess what? Demand is growing. Demand is growing. One of the areas we know demand is growing all over the country right now, it's growing intensely in the area of rentals. And people are paying top dollar for rent. So guess what? That demand keeps growing. That demand keeps growing. That demand keeps growing. We know that there's a law of diminishing return for a renter. And so here they are. We've now got tax credits for them. They get tax write-offs, obviously because of the mortgage deduction. And it's cost prohibitive for them to keep renting. One of the marketing pieces I used to send out into a condo and apartment complexes was, your landlord says hi and thanks again for paying his mortgage. That used to raise up a few phone calls. I think it would now. It's all about belief. What do you believe about the market? What do you believe about real estate? What do you believe ultimately about yourself in helping the person make a decision? And then the third point I have for you here today is why we don't ask for the order is we want people to buy from us instead of sell something to somebody. Again, I've trained hundreds of thousands of real estate professionals. And when I ask the audience, how many of you in here are salespeople, very few will raise their hands. Very few. Because they're not sure they're supposed to be a salesperson. They're not sure. There's something at times unseemly about being a salesperson. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do is this. Sales is one of the most noble professions in the world. And without sales, nothing good happens. Nothing good happens. And so my encouragement to you is that embrace it. I help people buy and sell homes. That's what I do. What we want people to do is to buy from us. We don't want to sell anybody anything. Here's my ultimate thought. This is all about integrity. If you sell somebody something they don't want, you're a pushy salesperson. You're a pushy salesperson. When you're asking them what their dreams are, what their hopes are, what they hope to accomplish, when you're doing that with people and you're bringing them along, here's ultimately the goal. The goal is to bring them along in such a way that you know what they're looking for and you help facilitate that. But ultimately, you've got to ask them the order. Here's a little story I want to share with you. My sister-in-law, she's an engineer. She's a great gal, the most non-salesperson you ever met. So she's buying a real nice car. So she goes along and she meets this salesperson who's extremely informative, took lots of time with her, asked her a bunch of questions, made her feel comfortable. And then he said, well, here's all the information, let me know what you want to do. So she said, thank you very much. She then went to the next dealership and she met a more forthright guy in regards to that his agenda was pretty clear. And he was pushing her to make a sale. Now, he was pushing her and pushing her and pushing her to the point that he turned her off. She finally went back around to the other salesperson. And she asked him a question. She goes, you know what, I don't know why I ever left this lot. I knew what I wanted. I was ready to buy. I went over there and I had a less than good experience. And the guy says to her, you know what, that happens to me a lot. She goes, you educated me. You told me more about the car than anybody else, but you never asked me to buy it. So I went off somewhere else. Now, because of her personality, she went back and found him. Here's what I want to share with you. Most people don't go back around. My encouragement to all of you is that we have to ask for the order. We have to ask for the referral, or we don't get referrals. We have to ask people to make a purchasing decision, or they don't make one. This is hard for them, and they're looking to us to be led. Now, if they say, no, I don't want to, go, great. Great, that's a good answer. Let's go find out what you really do want. We're here to serve. But ultimately, the best service we can provide somebody is putting them in a house or getting their house sold. The last reason salespeople fail is ultimately poor money management. And if any of you have ever been to any of our Turning Point retreats, you know that I teach an in-depth budgeting system. I teach an in-depth money management system because I've seen too many carcasses on the side of the road of real estate with people with plaques and trophies, and I'm number one in my office, number one in my region, number one in my company, and I'm broke because it's easier to spend more money than you make in this business. And so one of the things I just give you on a real quick tip on this, because I don't have the time to go into it in depth, is make sure that you have a budget for your home finances and make sure you have a budget for your business, okay? At least make a list of where the money's going. That's the first place to start. Have 2 separate accounts and begin the process of taking control of your finances. And again, there's many more in-depth pieces that's needed there, but one of my favorite quotes are from the famous actor Errol Flynn. And he says, "My problem lies with reconciling my gross habits with my net income." One of my all-time great quotes. So I encourage you to really embrace these 5 reasons here today. For all of us, there's no doubt you're doing some of these things well, and there's probably some areas I brought up today that maybe you're struggling in. What I found in life is if we do what the winners do, we win. If we do what the people who are struggling do, we struggle. I've shared with you the 5 reasons salespeople fail, and I've shared with you some things you can do to at least give you some tips, challenge your mindset, and challenge your thinking. Now, what we're going to do here is I want to share with you a couple more things. For more in-depth information on this content, this more information on our events, you can go to Buffinireplaymed.com. Go check out our website. Maybe come see me live at one of our success seminars or our flagship Turning Point Retreat. Many of you have gone through the 100 Days to Greatness training and things like that to get these fundamentals. We're also, as we mentioned, Wells Fargo has made a huge commitment this year to the real estate community and through a whole host of programs. And we're doing a series of programs with Wells. And one of the things you want to mark your calendar for is March 11th, where we're going to do our next Cine meeting. And this is where more than 60 movie theaters will be rented all across the United States. And we'll be doing a live presentation. You'll hear from some industry experts. You'll hear from people on the cutting edge of this industry. You'll hear from some great opportunities that exist in serving the minority markets. And then I'm also going to take some of this content I share with you today and go down a little deeper, especially in the area of the social media and how we can really take advantage of that. So mark your calendars for that. I'm also excited right now because this is live, and like I mentioned, we have 7,000 people from all over the country doing this, to submit questions. And I know we've received some questions already, and I want to take those, but feel free if you click on the bottom of the screen, ask a question, we'll get to them. So what I'm going to do is take some of your questions here and go through them, okay? So here's our first one here. It's from Roseanne in Idaho. Idaho, great famous potatoes. We love Idaho. Okay, Roseanne, it says, I need suggestions on dialogues when making my seller calls each week. I have a lot of stressed out sellers, and it's getting more and more difficult to make that call to them each week. In addition, after making the calls, I'm mentally exhausted. If you have any suggestions. Well, great stuff. This is a great question, Roseanne. I know a lot of people have this. First of all, the first thing I want to point out is that you're making a call to your sellers each week. You are in the top 3% of real estate agents. Okay, so the very fact that you're doing that, bravo. And our sellers need to hear from us. Even if we have nothing to report, there was no showings, there's no offers, what happens is silence is deadly in the real estate business. So the fact that you're calling people right off the bat, congratulations. The next thing is I want to share with you, I had a challenge with this in my career. There was a season in the early 90s where we hit a precipitous foreclosure market here in Southern California. And I went from carrying like 20 to 22 listings to all of a sudden having 50. And I got to be honest with you, it wasn't any fun. And I started to actually, people would call me, I'd get referrals and I'd be slow in returning the phone calls. I was not voracious in asking for leads or asking for referrals because if I got more referrals, I'd get more problems and more problems I couldn't solve. So maybe you can identify with this. My buddy, Mr. Nego, who sold over 2,500 homes in Chicago, he regularly carried over 50 listings. He had a lower average sales price than I did, so he had to do a much higher volume. So he gave me a little dialogue that I want to share with you right now. I would make my Friday morning calls to my active sellers, and I'd get on the phone and say, I just want you to know, John, that getting your home sold is a high priority to me, a high priority to me. And right now, we've been on the market for 5 weeks. We've had this number of showings. I've followed up with each person, and a couple of these folks have purchased another property. Now, John, what the market seems to be telling us right now, we're priced a little on the high side. I think we take a major step in the right direction if we reduce the price. What would you like to do as we move forward? So that was about every 4 to 5 weeks that phone call went on. And then from that point on, for the next 4 weeks, I want you to know, John, getting your home sold is a high priority to me. We've had a couple of calls this week. We had one showing this week, and I just give them an update. And, you know, here's the thing. Everybody knows times are tough. What we do is we personalize that we're supposed to solve the problems. I had a mentor one time said, Brian, there's two things I know about life. There is a God, and I'm not him. And so the same thing for you. You know, you don't control the economy. You don't control the entire market. All you can do is your best and stay in contact with your clients. The last part of your question is it's exhausting. Yes, it is. And this is one of the keys to being effective in real estate, is you got to take breaks. You got to take breaks. You know, maybe this is the time you schedule. You bring your walking shoes and you go take a walk with your girlfriend in the office and go for a walk, a walking lunch. Or you go, I used to go hit golf balls. Now, sometimes I hit the golf balls real hard, okay? But I would take a little break. And so what I do is effective time, I'd go after it, and then I'd take a little break. And sitting in front of the computer playing solitaire is not restorative. You got to do something that restores you. So I think it's a brilliant question. Hopefully you're able to take that dialogue down and use that with your sellers, okay? All right. Here's another question. This is an anonymous question, but it goes, how do you jumpstart your business when you've been very successful for over 25 years with equity sellers in a high price range and now find such a change market with lower priced short sales and foreclosures dominating the market? After pulling back for a couple of years, I feel like a brand new agent again starting the business. Okay. Thanks for your question. And I know a lot of people right now are a little overwhelmed because they feel like they're starting over. My encouragement to you is this. A, you're not starting over. B, you did pull back. And I would tell you that most people did pull back. What I'm finding right now is that we have 7,000 people on this webinar today. I'll be honest with you, if we did this time last year, we might have had 3,000. Our seminars are filling up all over the country. People are calling us. I'm ready to get back to work. Everybody just took, you know, a bit of a hit. And we kind of go into this cocoon. We kind of do the hedgehog factor. And we kind of tuck our head in and just hope the storm blows over. Well, I think everybody knows the worst is over. There's not great times ahead, but there's not the worst times ahead. And now it's time to get back to work. So my encouragement to you is it's okay to feel like a new agent again. It's okay to feel that enthusiasm. It's okay. Think about when you were a brand new agent. You know, when you were a brand new agent and you got a call off a sign, you were so excited to return that call. And I'd say try to embrace that type of mindset. Yes, your price point has changed. Yes, maybe some of your clients have lost equity in their home, like everyone who owned any asset did. You don't own that. You're there to serve them. You're there to help them. By the way, you're the trusted advisor for 25 years for so many people. So my encouragement to you is embrace the energy of a new agent. That's why I recommended a book. And on our website, I have a book list for this year to put the good stuff in. One of the things I've been doing for myself is pouring myself in just having a mental diet of positive books, of great information, listening to CDs, listening to Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn, things I grew up with as a young man, to put myself in the best mental state possible. So you know what? Welcome back. Welcome back into the game. You hung out for a couple years. Now let's get after it. And you know what happens? You're going to get some good results and you're going to get some momentum. And momentum will change how you feel. So I think this is a great question because I know there's a lot of people out there hurting. A lot of people out there had a tough year or two. Okay, next question. Evelyn from South Carolina, where my wife was born. What do you think of email marketing and what type of marketing is more effective? Okay, well, Evelyn, this is like the ultimate setup question of all time. Email marketing in and of itself is worthless. It's worthless unless there's a relationship. You know, if you send me an email and I don't know who you are, I'm probably going to delete it before opening it. I don't want a virus from you. That's the world we live in today. Don't you agree? What about building your relationships? What about making a list of all your past customers? What about listing out all your friends and family? What about listing all the people you know in your neighborhood? What about former colleagues, past clients? And making a list of all these folks. Maybe then you take your Facebook list and you add that in and you build a database, a list of relationships. And that is the fundamental key to this business. This is a relationship-driven business where people are looking for someone to trust. If you approach people in a non-relational way, you'll get non-relational clients. And the only thing they choose between you and the other agent is the cost of your services. So, Evelyn, it sounds like you could use a heavy dose of the Turning Point Retreat or the book Working by Referral or go to the Cine meeting. You need to get some good stuff going here. You're asking a great question because, again, we spend so much time doing things that don't work. We need to do the things that do work, okay? A couple more. Let me see. I got Phil from Charlotte, North Carolina. What are some immediate things besides selling a home that can be done if I find myself undercapitalized to stay afloat until a home is sold? Okay. Phil, my encouragement to you is to do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. If you have to wait tables at night, if you have to drive the super shuttle to get to the airport, you do whatever it takes to get your real estate business going. Now, ultimately, it's a difficult thing to do two things well. But here's what I know. If you think, Phil, if you applied yourself to your database, to your customers, you got out like you were canvassing for office. One of the systems we teach is called a mayor campaign. And if you were running for mayor of your city, how would you go about it? Many people have gotten so caught up in politics, and they're watching MSNBC, or they're watching Fox, or they're watching CNN, and they're getting caught up in all the politics. And here's the thing, they're not running for office themselves. I'm Brian Buffini, and I approve this message. I want your vote. When you're thinking about buying or selling a home, or you have a friend or family member who is, I'm looking for your personal endorsement. And you're out, and you're shaking hands, and you're meeting the people. That's where the business is. Think about it. If you wanted to, get elected and just send out a bunch of emails, just run a bunch of ads, no. You got to get out and meet the people, shake the hands, find out where they're at. So that's where it's at. And it's not all about expense. Not to get too political, but if you could take the politics out of it, we just had an election in Massachusetts. And there was one candidate who was heavily funded and one candidate that was underfunded. But it seems like the underfunded guy, he did a great job of getting out face-to-face with people and finding out where people are at. Now, if you can take the politics aside and apply yourself to that in business, get out face-to-face with your customers, face-to-face with your sphere of influence, face-to-face and voice-to-voice with people, writing them notes, staying in contact with them and letting them know, I'm never too busy for any of your referrals. We've had so much success helping new agents succeed. In our 100 Days to Greatness program, we've had 49,000 people take this course with an average income of $47,000 within the 100 days. 2/3 of those agents were new agents. Now what's happening is many experienced agents looking for what to do are getting involved with 100 Days to Greatness. You might see if your broker is a mentor and can teach the 100 Days to Greatness course to you. That'd be a great way to start. Okay. Barbara from Arizona says, for those in your sphere of influence who do not wish to receive monthly mailings, how often do you send them something or the best way to keep them in front of them? Now, Barbara, I got to tell you, I practiced this for a lot of years, and never in my life did I have somebody say, don't send me this stuff anymore, because the monthly mailings I was sending were something of value. It wasn't a recipe card for a pot pie. It wasn't a football schedule. It didn't have, just something with my face on it saying I'm number one. It just wasn't like that. This was a totally different dynamic. So my encouragement to you is, if it's something of value, what we teach in the working by referral methodologies is maybe it's something to help improve their credit score, something to help protect them from identity theft, information about the upcoming tax credits that maybe they or their friends know about, information on, hey, there's information on how to organize your house in such a way you could save on your energy bills. Every month I'm sending something of value to my customers. Following the Synod meeting this year, we'll be outlining for you a follow-on program that Wells Fargo will be supporting you in. So some great stuff there. Okay. Michelle from Pennsylvania. How do you deal with making calls during the workday and actually reaching people to generate some dialogue? That's a tremendous question. Michelle, here's the dynamic. Not everybody's going to be home during the course of the day. You know that. So here's what we have to do. We establish the relationships with the people we know. We build the relationships. We stay in contact with them. Once I established a relationship with somebody, I had no problem leaving a voicemail. Once someone knew me. So for me, I try to see people face to face. And you talk about during the workday? I would do these visits called pop-bys, where I'm bringing a little something of value to my customers. And I'd go see them at their work and just pop by, how are you doing? For Mother's Day, all the ladies in my database got flowers, just popping by to celebrate Mother's Day. For Father's Day, I used to do tube socks and just bring all the guys in my database and get out to see people. Well, you know what? When you go see someone face to face, just a couple minutes, how are you doing? How's life? Brought you a little gift. How's everything going? By the way, I'm never too busy for any of your referrals. Then I would have no problem following up the following month with a phone call. And if they weren't answering, I'd leave them a voicemail message. Just checking in, want to see how everything's going. You mentioned your son was in a Little League tournament. Just want to know how that worked out. I was running for mayor. I was building relationships. I was staying in contact. I got to be honest with you folks, these are very, very typical questions. What I want to share with you is this: we have complicated this business. We are hiding out behind technology. We're hiding out behind gimmicks. This is a face-to-face, voice-to-voice business. The most important technology in this business is the telephone. The next most important technology is your automobile. Go build relationships and go see people. You're not hardcore soliciting. You're building relationships with people that you know and trying to get to know them better and trying to put your name at the forefront of their mind so when they meet someone they know who's interested in buying or selling a home, you refer them. So that's my encouragement to all you guys. Just keep chipping away, keep building relationships. You will not just make income, you will eventually build a significant business. I've done this for myself, but for the tens of thousands of people we coach today who average 7 times the national average. Do you think all of these people are just smarter? They're not. Do you think they all work harder? In some cases, they're working less than you. But they all have a system. They're all consistent. They all have goals. They take care of their finances, and they're working consistently on a daily basis. My encouragement to all of you is just keep chipping away. Don't make this business more complicated than it is. Don't make it more frustrating than it needs to be. It's a tough business, but it's a great business. Real estate's been very good to me. It's changed my life. It's changed my family's life. And I've seen this process I'm talking to you about change the lives of tens of thousands of people. People right now are in need of someone to trust. You need to be out there looking for people who need that kind of service. You need to be the person that they come to trust. And you need to let them know. You probably know someone who needs help. A little statistic I'll give you. 57% of the foreclosures in the United States last year, the person never contacted their bank. They were embarrassed. They were nervous. They were scared. Our job is to be out in front of our database, letting them know, even if it's difficult things like that. I'm telling my customers, you know what? If you have a friend or a family member who's upside down on their mortgage, have them give me a call. If they need me to sit next to them while they talk to the bank, I'll be happy to do so. You know, this is not such a terrible thing. There's a lot of people in this situation. I'm here to help. Strip away the veneer. Don't sit in your office and hide out like it's Saddam Hussein's bunker, sending off emails, posting up your Facebook account, doing your mailings, but no personal contact, no intimate relationship, no building. What I can share with you is that trusted advisor relationships will outlast any circumstance. And relationships are an anvil that wear out many a hammer. This market's been hammered, this business has been hammered, and the way you build back your business is one relationship at a time, one customer at a time, one referral at a time. And if you do that, you'll build a great career. Well, I hope you've enjoyed being in our webinar today. I'd like to thank Wells Fargo to go into all the trouble and the expense of putting this on. I hope this has been helpful for you. We're going to continue to provide value to you. We're going to continue to try to serve you. Buffini & Company and Wells Fargo have partnered up to try to bring as much value as we can to help as many agents as we can in 2010. What I want to share with you is Wells Fargo wants to partner up with you to help you with your transactions, to help you navigate the challenges of this market. And they have HMCs, home mortgage consultants, that are trained and ready to serve you. So our hope and prayer that you'll have a great 2010. We know that if you're on this call today, you're one of those folks who's not going to fail. We want to give you these 5 tips today so you'll be the one that wins. Thanks for joining me today. I hope to see you soon at a live event or at a Cinema meeting. And until next time, God bless.